Hi, this is Katie. So if you guys watched Tuesday's video, I did a mental health update, and actually while I was recording that footage, I talked about self-care, and I talked about self-care for another like half hour. And so I wanted to split the mental health update and the self-care talk into two different videos. Otherwise it would be a very long video. And so Tuesday's video was just really a mental health update for me, talking about stuff that I've been going through. And then today's video is going to be the rest of that footage, which is all about self-care. And I wanted to make a video about self-care because honestly, I just think that it's different than a lot of society advertises it to be. I think it might be different than what you see on Instagram and what you see on YouTube generally. I think that obviously you'll see in the video, and P.S. I repeat myself a lot in this video, but you guys know when I repeat myself, it's because I kind of want to like drill it in your head because it's really important to me, and I want to like encourage you to not obviously just blindly believe whatever I say, but just to maybe think more about what I'm talking about if it's something that interests you. And so I wanted to kind of just tell you guys my take on self-care. And again, I hope that it might encourage you or just help you think in a little bit of a different way about taking care of yourself and loving ourselves. It's really hard for a lot of us, I know, especially people with mental illnesses, but even people without mental illnesses. It's just hard sometimes to love ourselves and take care of ourselves. And so that's what this video is about. If you guys are interested in self-care, I really hope that you guys keep watching. And honestly, even if you're not, I hope that you watch as well, because maybe someone close to you is having a hard time loving themselves or treating themselves well, and maybe this can give you some tips on how to talk to them about it. Or if you realize that you're treating yourself not great, maybe this can give you some encouragement or just some ideas or some tips or just some things to think about in terms of self-care. And so if you're not already subscribed to my channel, make sure that you do that, and make sure that you follow me on Instagram as well. But without further ado, let's get into some self-care talk. I have a bunch of notes that I took on my phone because self-care has been such like a catchphrase lately, you know, like the last year or so, maybe even longer than that. I think it almost started with Treat Yourself on Parks and Rec, you know, where, oh, I deserve this and I'm gonna just do something good for myself. So I'm gonna buy a $300 jacket and I'm gonna go skip work and go shopping, or I'm gonna go get drunk with strangers because I deserve it. I think that that can be an unhealthy ledge that you might fall off of, because while yes, everyone deserves love and respect and kindness towards yourself and from other people, yes, we all do, that can completely go over the edge. Buying yourself a $300 jacket when you don't have $300 is not self-care. You know, skipping work to go to the spa when you don't have any more sick days and your mental health is fine, but your friend just asked you to go to the spa, so you're just skipping work to go, does not really count as self-care. You know, those things, depending on your mood. Obviously, if you're miserable taking a day off work, that's very different. But if you're fine, you're just skipping a day just to skip a day because I deserve to go to the spa, you know, like one of those, it's not the same thing. And I think that it has gone a little bit over the edge of self-care is, first of all, only physical. I think that's gone way too far. And self-care is spending a lot of money. And self-care is doing whatever you want, even if it hurts someone else or if it hurts yourself in the long run, but it makes you feel good now. I don't think all those things are healthy. And so I think there might be some of you guys who, yes, want to know how I cope or want to just know how other people cope because you're going through a hard time. And honestly, again, I'm not good at this. But one of the reasons I made this list is to almost help myself with it as well, because I'm not really good at self-care. I've had very severe depression. I'm not diagnosed with clinical depression. I'm diagnosed with something else that comes with depression, but I've had it for most of my life. And even when I feel okay, I'm still at, you know, a 2.5 out of 10. I still generally feel low. There are sometimes I feel higher than that in terms of like not as depressed or a little bit more filled with joy or a little bit more like I can do this, you know, but a lot of times I feel really low. And in all honesty, I haven't really found a lot of things that help me. And then in all honesty, sometimes I haven't wanted to because I have felt so worthless and pointless most of my life that I haven't wanted to feel good about myself. I haven't thought that I deserved to feel good about myself or to even like myself. I really haven't. And it's so interesting because sometimes when I talk to you guys about this kind of stuff, it is stuff I firmly believe. I firmly believe that we all deserve love and respect. But then I look at myself and I'm like, well, Katie, you don't. And that isn't logical. If I'm saying, and I believe that everyone does, that includes me. But sometimes, and I'm sure a lot of you guys know this, it's not just easier to tell other people than to do it yourself. That's not really what I mean, but I mean it's so much easier to see worth in other people than it is in yourself sometimes, especially if you have severe depression or severe anxiety or any severe mental illness that just makes you question your own self-worth. it makes it harder. So even though I firmly believe that everyone deserves love and respect and kindness, for me, I'm like, I don't think anyone's gonna love me. Why would I deserve that, you know? And on days like yesterday, my gosh, it is multiplied by 1,000,000. But then a day like today, where I feel a little bit more okay, these are the days that I'm like, okay, I'm gonna push myself. And so, yeah, so I wanna talk about self-care a little bit, to just talk about it with you guys and talk it out with you guys, and then also hopefully change some of my direction and change some of my daily habits within myself. And so I took a bunch of notes, so I just wanna read some. You guys know sometimes when I take notes on my phone, it's like I'll read what I wrote and then I'll kind of explain, so. Okay, so the first thing that I really want to talk about is how self-care does not just mean going to the spa or buying new Gucci slides. Self-care is not just what we see on TV or just what we see on Instagram in terms of going to get a manicure or going to the spa or going shopping or doing some pampering routine at home. It can be that for sure. If that is something that makes you feel good about yourself, then it can absolutely be that. However, I feel like there's been a little bit too much focus on the physical aspect of it and not enough focus on more internal, and then also just, I don't really know what the other category would be, but just like other things that are not just pampering yourself and getting your nails done. But if having your nails done, like having my nails done, I don't even mean just going to the salon to get it done. I even mean if I just do my own nails, but just having them painted, having my cuticles taken care of, you know, that does make me feel a little bit better about just my overall well-being. You know, if my hair is done and if I have my makeup on and I really like how it looks that day and I'm wearing one of my favorite outfits, you can do those things, and that's okay if that makes you feel good. It's okay to feel beautiful on the outside. It's okay to want to be dolled up. It's okay that you're just going to the grocery store, but you want to wear a smoky eye and wear heels. It's okay if that makes you feel good as a person. Who cares? You're not hurting anyone else. But I think that that's kind of where there's a really tricky line of, so make sure it's not hurting anyone else and make sure it's not hurting your own future. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what I was saying, that maybe don't just skip work where there's nobody to cover for you and you might get fired because you did that just because you want to go to the spa. I think that there could be a middle ground, unless again you are having the worst day ever and you physically cannot go to work. That's different. But I mean, if you're feeling fine but you got invited to the spa but nobody's there to cover you, and this is like the third time you've done it in the past 6 months and they've already warned you that you might get fired. If you're doing something that is good now, please just make sure that it's not going to ruin your future. That's kind of with anything. That's like, take care of your body, take care of the inside of your body, but also take care of just your life in general. Make sure that what you're doing now, just in terms of taking care of yourself, make sure it's not going to ruin what you have planned, what your goals are for the future just for one day. I hope that makes sense. So, okay, let me get back to my notes. Self-care does not just mean going to the spa. Again, I feel like that's such like a common one. Like, I'm gonna do a face mask and paint my nails. That's self-care. It can be, because that can make some people feel really, really good, but it might not be for you. Kind of the whole point of like all these notes is that self-care is different for everyone. And so it's so easy to look on Instagram and say, well, that person's doing a face mask and painting their nails and taking a bath. That's what they're doing for self-care. That makes them feel better. That's what I'm gonna do. And that's what will make me feel better. You know why that's dangerous? For a couple of reasons. And this is the same that is dangerous, that that person's on medication, so I'm gonna try medication. Or this person does yoga, so that means I'm gonna do yoga. Or that person says that they feel better when they go for a walk, so that means I'm gonna do it. The dangerous part of that is, sure, try whatever you want. If it's within your morals and within your budget, try whatever you wanna try. But make sure that you understand that it might not help you, because we are all so different. And so it's totally okay to take advice from other people, whether they're giving it to you because they know you as a friend or just because you see it online. It's totally okay to copy someone or do what someone else is doing because it looks good or it looks nice or it looks fun or it looks helpful. But I think it's really important not to have in your head, well, this might not work, so whatever, I'm not even gonna put effort into it. That's not what I mean. If you're getting into a new relationship, if you are trying new medication, if you are doing a new hobby, starting a new job, I am fully for 100% hoping and working towards it working out. That's what I am all for. But I'm just saying that there's a healthy way of believing it's all gonna work out and an unhealthy way of believing it's all gonna work out. The healthy way is I'm gonna go into this hoping that's gonna work out, which means I'm gonna put my effort into it, I'm gonna put my time, and I'm gonna pay attention to it. The unhealthy way is, if this does not work out, my life is over. That's the unhealthy way. If this does not work out, there's nothing else for me. This is my only chance, this is my only hope. That's where it gets unhealthy. And so if you wanna try something that someone else suggested or that someone else did that looks fun, absolutely, go for it. But I hope that you don't go into it thinking that that is the only thing that can ever help. You know what I mean? And so if you wanna go paint your nails, that's fine. It makes me feel kind of good also because it's a distraction, especially if you're doing it by yourself. You gotta pay attention to something else, that could really help. But so I wrote a list of other things that can be seen as self-care that might not be as obvious, that might be a little bit harder, but I wanted to give you ones that maybe you haven't heard as often. I wrote, it can be letting yourself get more sleep in one day because you haven't slept the last few days. It can be adding one more glass of water to your meals today, and it also could be adding one less glass of alcohol. It can be distancing yourself from a family member or a friend who is toxic to you or who triggers you. It can be tidying up your house, or it can be letting it go for another day. It can be forgiving someone or forgiving yourself. It could be taking a step to change yourself into a better person. It could be staying at home from work to rest, or forcing yourself to go to work. And so that's almost similar to tidying up your house or letting it go. It depends on who you are. Hey guys, Editing Katie here. So I know that I didn't give you a ton of actual examples of self-care, but that's because since self-care is different for everyone, there are literally an unlimited amount of examples of self-care, because not only are we also different, we are just at different stages and we all need different things at different times. So sometimes doing something more surface level will absolutely help. So that could be painting your nails or going out to eat with your friend or something. Something more surface level could help you depending on who you are and depending on the mood that you're in and depending on the result that you want right now. But also it could be much more intense than that, where you want to truly grow as a person, and that could be volunteering or starting a new business or starting a new branch of your business, starting to write a book, moving to a new place, mending a relationship or ending a relationship. And then sometimes it could be in the middle where you just want to take action on something. So that could be reorganizing your house or cleaning your fridge or running errands that you've had on your list for 2 weeks. It just totally depends. But any of that can be seen as self-care if you're paying attention to it and if it actually makes you feel, again, either calmer or like more excited or more fulfilled, or something that you're like, okay, I'm actually taking care of my life. I'm actually paying attention to something that is good for me, that's healthy for me, and potentially healthy for other people. And this is what I'm gonna focus on right now. And not just doing it to do it, but doing it to realize that this could be a good step in a positive direction of paying attention to myself, loving myself, caring about myself, understanding that I'm worthy of nice things or good things or just positive things. You know, like cleaning your house is a beneficial thing to you. It could make you feel like, look, I deserve to live in a nice house, and or a clean house at least, you know? And so self-care can be as simple as tidying up your house and going to take a shower and getting your hair trimmed, because you're actually like, you know what, I am going to do this so that I can be better and I can live my best life. That's the whole point of this, in my opinion. It is okay to take care of ourselves. So I just wanted to add a little bit more of that, but yeah, back to the video. And it depends on what would make you feel more fulfilled, more settled in your gut in terms of like, okay, you know, like I can breathe now, and even more proud of yourself. I don't like the word proud, but you guys know what I mean. Like, okay, I did something, you know? Like today, I wrote this down, like today I forced myself to work, and this is a form of self-care for me because sometimes I will just sit around and do nothing for days, and that's not healthy for me. Again, we are all so different. It takes a lot of trial and error, which is exhausting, especially when you have mental health issues. Trial and error of seeing what helps you is exhausting. It's more than exhausting. I just don't know a word that's more than exhausting. But it's about knowing yourself. So for some people, self-care can be lying around all day watching TV and letting themselves veg out. That can be self-care for certain people because they've worked themselves to the point where they are so stressed that they cannot do anything. And sometimes a day or two of rest, sometimes a little mini vacation does help people feel refreshed. But again, that does not mean that it will help everyone. For me, for example, taking a week off of working does not make me feel refreshed. It does not make me feel ready for the day and ready to get back on the saddle and all that stuff. It does not do that for me. It makes me feel a little bit worse about myself. Honestly, I like working. I like doing, you know, I'm talking about doing YouTube because this is my full-time job. I like doing this, and it makes me feel fulfilled when I get a video out, when I post on social media, when I edit my video well, when I talk about a topic that I think you guys are gonna really like. That is good for me, because not only do I hope that I'm helping you guys, whether it's entertainment, whether it is learning something, but it helps me because I feel like I'm doing something, and that's something that helps me. So lying in bed all day for a few days does not help me, even though sometimes I feel like I have to do it because I feel like I can't get out of bed like yesterday. Doing that yesterday did not make me feel better. It was just kind of all I felt like I could do that day. You know what I mean? And so it just totally depends on the person. Some people need to take rest because it recharges them and they're able to like jump head in after they rest for a few days or take a little vacation or shut their phone off and things like that. But for some people, it's no, dive into your work more, focus more. Some people, that is self-care. And so again, it's all about learning yourself. Yeah, so I wrote, do not compare your self-care to other people's self-care because it's gonna look so different. And then I also wrote that self-care does not mean staying in your comfort zone. So again, self-care does not just mean resting. It does not just mean doing things you've already done. Self-care could also mean growing as a person, doing therapy, starting new medication, looking for a new job, thinking about ending an unhealthy relationship or changing your boundaries on an unhealthy relationship. These things are not in your comfort zone, probably at least. And I think a lot of actual true self-care is gonna be changing, and changing is usually seen outside of your comfort zone. So I just kind of wanna like focus on that for a second because you guys know how big I am on making whatever changes in your life to help yourself, to help your family, to help the greater good. And I'm not saying that all self-care has to help the greater good. That's not what I mean. But if you're realizing that you're miserable all the time and you think that self-care only means getting a manicure once a week, that might help you in the moment, absolutely. But I just want to also encourage you that it might mean other things. Get that manicure, but then also go to therapy, or go exercise, or go just do whatever fulfills you. Go start writing a page a day. Go start writing in a diary or a journal. Is there a difference? I don't think there is. Go, you know what? I had about a month of my life when I lived in San Diego like 5 years ago. I lived right across from the beach. So like here was the bay, like the beach in the bay. And then here was some houses. Here were some houses. And then there was a street right behind that, and I lived right on like the corner of that street. So I could see the bay from my kitchen. It was beautiful. I loved living in San Diego. I lived there for about 6-ish months or so, 6-7 months. But there was about a month of that time that I would wake up at like 6:30 in the morning and walk to the beach and fall back asleep on the beach and just sleep for another half hour before I had to get up and go to work. And then I'd wake up on the beach in San Diego. That could be self-care, you know? Just doing something for yourself. So that's why I was saying that there is some self-care that can help you be a better person and grow as a person, that can help the greater good, because I am such a firm believer that if we are not trying to help the greater good, what are we doing? You know, not with every single action, but with certain things overall in our lives. But self-care obviously is about taking care of yourself. For some people, taking care of yourself will help the rest of the world, or help one other person, or help your family, or your job, your coworkers. But obviously, self-care is about helping yourself. I just don't want it to be that your self-care is hurting other people. You know what I mean? I'm not saying you should worry about everyone else, especially when you're in a low time and you need to take care of yourself. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just hoping that it's not something that is ruining other people's lives. You know what I mean? Like, oh, well, self-care, so I'm just gonna like go out whenever I want and never tell my husband. That's, you know what I mean? Still respect your life. I just don't want it to be selfish self-care where it turns into an unhealthy level of selfish. So I hope you guys know what that means. Where it's like, well, I'm just gonna go out whenever I want because I'm taking care of myself and I'm just not gonna tell my husband or my kids. That's where it gets unhealthy. So I hope that that makes sense in that distinction. But it really is about figuring out what helps you, figuring out what helps you either calm down or perk up. It totally depends on who you are, how you think, and who you want to be, what your goals are. You know what I mean? So again, that's why I'm saying I don't think self-care is just about surface level stuff. I think sometimes it can be, and I think that can be great if that helps you. But I think it can go deeper than that, and it's still self-care. I think looking at who you are and hoping to highlight the positives about you and hoping to lessen the negatives, I think that's self-care. I think helping other people can be self-care. I think understanding that your life can change and that your choices are allowed to change, that's self-care. I think having grace and patience on yourself and loving yourself is self-care. I think loving yourself is the epitome of self-care. And I think a lot of us don't. I think a lot of us either just kind of skate by and don't even think about loving ourselves, or a lot of us, I think, actively don't love ourselves and actively even dislike ourselves. So I think working on that can be self-care. I think that that's a very important part of self-care, actually, is thinking not, I just deserve whatever I want. Not that, but you know what? I deserve to not be miserable all the time and to not cry every day and you deserve to be respected and loved. And so sometimes you have to do that for yourself, because sometimes other people are not going to help with that. And so that's what this self-love thing is. It's understanding that there are things that you can do to either, again, calm yourself down or perk yourself up. And so let me just read a few more of the notes that I have. So yeah, self-care does not mean just staying in your comfort zone. And self-care is not giving yourself an excuse to do whatever you want. It's having a purpose behind doing what's good for you. Again, I think I already kind of explained that, but it's not just, I'm gonna do whatever I want because self-care, or treat yourself. So I'm gonna spend all of the money in my savings and not tell my husband or wife about it or my family about it. That's not self-care. That's self-destructive. That's a self-destructive level of selfishness. But self-care is, I feel horrible today, but I need to go take care of my family. So is there something that can help me? Because maybe it is a manicure. Or maybe it's, you know what, self-care tonight will be ordering a pizza, because if I try to cook, I'm gonna lose my mind. That could be self-care. It could be as simple as that. But it could also be, I'm gonna give myself a 20-minute meditation or a 20-minute shower. Or I'm gonna go sit outside when I have my morning coffee. That could be self-care. It could be at such a simple level as drinking coffee outside, or such an intense level of, I'm gonna start going to therapy 3 times a week because I feel like I'm drowning, you know? And I feel like we can do a bunch of these different things, and a bunch in the middle as well. But again, you know, when I repeat myself, it's hopefully to drill it into your head. It's different for everyone, and it takes a lot of thought. And hopefully at least some of these things are things that we can do even when we feel horrible, you know? So it's having a purpose behind doing what's good for you. So not just doing something that everyone else is doing, or not just doing something because it looks cool or costs a lot of money, but doing it because it's good for you. I hope that makes sense. So can it be going to the spa? If that calms you down and lifts your spirits, then absolutely. But that might not work for everyone, which is why I'm suggesting to not compare your self-care to other people's, and to not just copy them or think that you're doing it wrong if you don't like the same things or it doesn't work for you. Self-care is about being honest with yourself, which can be so hard sometimes. You guys, I think a lot of times we think we're being honest with ourselves, but in reality, we're just kind of sticking with either what we've always thought or what other people around us think, or what is comfortable for us. When in reality, in real reality, our honest life, our honesty with ourselves might be something different. And it is so hard to make that distinction and make that change, but I think it's important too. So that's something that I want to work on as well. Thinking that, like, you might be doing something that counts as self-care, but it might not even be making you feel better, but you're just still doing it. Or you might just be living a life, we've talked about this, that you don't love, but you're still doing it because you've always done it. Or because the people around you think it's cool and you want to brag about it. Or just because you're comfortable, or because changing would get you out of your comfort zone. You don't want to do that. But in reality, your real best life is probably going to be out of your comfort zone sometimes. I'm not saying all the time, but sometimes. And that reality of, you know what, actually, I really, really, really do not think that the career I chose is right for me. That is hard to swallow, especially if you went to school for it, especially if it pays a lot and you got used to a lifestyle. That is hard to admit. But you know what it'll do? It'll change your life for the better if you admit it and you start working on it and working on changing it. It's hard though. And there are so many times that we just kind of stick with the same life. And that could be something small or something huge. It could be our whole lifestyle. Or it could just be something small, as in you drink coffee every day, you know? But then maybe you realize, you know what, maybe coffee's not actually best for me. Maybe I'm just addicted to it, or maybe I'm just kind of so used to drinking it, but maybe it's not good for me. Maybe I want to change that, you know? So self-care is admitting things to yourself, changing things too. It can go real deep, you know? So let's see. Self-care is about being honest with yourself, which can be so hard sometimes, especially if that honesty is either different from how other people live or think, or if it's different from how you used to be or how you are right now. Sometimes it's pushing yourself out of your comfort zone to do what's best for you, not just what feels good in the moment. But sometimes what feels good or even just okay in the moment is all you can do, and that's when we need to give ourselves grace. I hope that all makes sense. So don't let anyone tell you that your self-care isn't right. If you are truly honest with yourself and you really, really think about it, then you will know what's best for you more than anyone else can. Obviously, a spouse or someone super close with you might have a good idea as well, but don't let their opinion overpower what you have already thought about and what you know is best for you, especially in terms of this, you know? But it might be that your spouse, hopefully, what I want in like a future husband, and just honestly friends in my life, is people who are gonna call me out on my stuff, but in a loving way that's actually helpful. If they see me doing something self-destructive, I want people in my life who will call me out on that, you know? And so you might be doing something that you think is self-care, but in reality, self-care for you is going out drinking every other night and you might not actually see that it's unhealthy for you. So that might be when someone else calls you out on it, and that's when it is worth it to be kind of open to hearing that, because we get so defensive. Everyone gets so defensive when someone calls us out on something. I know that I do sometimes, but I think it's really good to be open if you think you're doing something, but you can kind of tell it's not helping, but you're just kind of nervous to admit that to yourself. And then if someone wants to help you with it, I know that's hard, but so actually I think that I'm done with my notes. The last paragraph on here is something I already talked about, that just because someone suggests something does not mean it's gonna be good for you, but you can still try it. But then again, go into it with a healthy expectation of it working, not an addictive, unhealthy, this is the only chance I have at being happy. Don't go into it that way, because that's unhealthy. But I still think it's so important to go into any change in your life as I'm gonna put the effort and the time and the focus and the love into this, that it will succeed. I think it's so important to do that with anything in life, whether you're writing a book, start a new job, in a relationship, anything. And so with self-care, when you're starting something new that you haven't really ever done before, so you might not know if it works or not, go into it hoping that it does. But again, don't go into it thinking that this is the only thing that will ever help. And so if this doesn't help, then you're doomed. That's where it gets unhealthy. So I hope that that kind of made sense to you guys. I don't really know what my changes are gonna be yet. Maybe when I think about it and write it out, I can make another video if you guys want in a couple weeks telling you guys what self-care changes I'm going to make in my life, because I think it's just so important to be honest with yourself. And that might mean making big changes. That might mean making changes that you never thought you were gonna make. That might mean doing something for yourself that you never thought that you would do. But that's where you grow and you learn and you change and you really start to treat yourself better. And I know that I have not been good at treating myself well. I know that I haven't. And so since I'm feeling okay today, this is where I want to change my mindset on some certain things. This is where I think change can be made a little bit more than it can be made if you are just in bed all day and you can barely function. Those are the days to maybe give yourself some grace and let yourself rest, or let yourself understand that, you know, you're sick or you're not feeling well or your brain's attacking you or whatever. Give yourself grace on that. But then on a day like today where I'm feeling okay, these are the days that I like pushing myself harder, because that's just the kind of person I am. Self-care for me is almost pushing myself harder, not to a breaking point, but to working a little bit harder in business, working a little bit harder on my brain, my mental health, on just my life in general, people around me. And so the days that I'm kind of feeling okay, like today, these are the days to take advantage of you feeling okay, and to maybe just think of a few self-care things that you want to try, or a few lifestyle changes that you might want to make that might help. This is really hard. I never want to talk about this stuff ever acting like it's easy. It is so hard, you guys, it's so hard. But today literally just might be the day that I paint my nails, and maybe that's what I get done, because that does make me feel a little bit more put together. And so that's something that does help me a little bit. But this also might be the day to do something, because that's on the scale of it makes me feel good right now and it's not hurting my future. So that's why it's good. I think that's why it's okay. But I also might want to do something on the more, wherever, like over here, on the scale of maybe something that could actually benefit my future, or something that could help my brain a little bit, or my lifestyle, or the people around me, or something. So I might do some of that today as well. And so again, I think I'm gonna kind of make a list of things that I might wanna try, or that I have tried that don't really work for me. And so if you want, I can talk about that in a few weeks, but I am gonna end this video here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Leave me in the comments just anything that you really wanna say. If you guys have self-care things that really work for you, write them down. If you have things that you've tried, but after really thinking about it, they don't help, let us know those too. If you're making changes in your life, I'm so proud of you. Even if they seem so tiny, the idea of making that first change is almost always the hardest. And so I'm so proud of you. I'm really, really glad that you watched this video, and I'm glad that we all have a safe space to talk about mental health and to talk about growing as people. And so I really hope that you guys feel safe here talking about it with me, listening to me about this, and, you know, chatting with me or with each other in the comments. I really hope that we can just be here together. It's really hard. Yesterday was really hard, and I will not be surprised if I spend a little while today crying, just because yesterday was so hard. I don't expect today to be perfect, but since I'm feeling okay right now, this is when I'm gonna work on stuff. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm really, really glad that you were here. Make sure that you're subscribed if you wanna see more videos. I do a lot of like lifestyle videos, some travel videos, mental health videos. I do a bunch of different types of videos. And then follow me on Instagram if you want for more daily updates. And that is gonna be it. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day. I love you, Jesus loves you, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.